Okay, so we are Natalie Landwehr and Lauren Roy from Hawaii.
Laddie and Lauren? Okay.
Yes, and from Hawaii's Catholic High School, and your full name, Ted Fry?
Yep,
or
Ted Fry.
that you go by. And it is today's date,
January 30th.
January 31st, 2018, at Hawaii's Catholic High School. So, we'll just
Okay.
get started then.
We'll get started.
Okay.
When and where were you born?
Born in Boonville in 1950.
Okay.
St. Joseph's Hospital. Not there anymore.
Oh, yeah. Who are your parents and what were their occupations?
My dad was Charles Fry, and he was a postal clerk. And mom was, what's a term? What's a politically correct? Housekeeper, I guess. I don't know if there is politically correct.
Outside?
And well, then she worked, you know, in later years she worked at Como Electric Cooperative.
Okay. Who are your siblings, if you had any?
Who's the what?
Your siblings, if you had any?
I have sister Charlene Fry and brother John Fry.
Okay. Did any of those serve in the military as well?
No.
Okay. What were you doing before you entered the service?
Flanking out of college, freshman year of college.
What college?
MU,
Okay.
yeah,
Which branch of the military did you serve in?
Army.
Army. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted because I had talked to the lady at the draft board in California. I grew up in Tipton, and talked to the lady at the draft board. She said I'd probably be, this was before the numbering system, I'd probably be drafted in July. And so I said, I don't want to be drafted. So I went ahead, enlisted for 3 years on the promise of getting some technical training, technical MOS.
And why'd you pick the Army?
That's a good question. Sometimes I wonder myself. I guess maybe influenced me as much as anything as my dad and my uncle served in the Army.
Yeah. What happened when you departed for training camp and during your early days of training?
What happened during my early days of training?
How'd that go?
I wondered what I was getting myself into. Yep.
And we can edit this. This gentleman is from the News Tribune. He's going to be sitting in, so he may want to get names, and we can edit footage on this as well. So
Okay.
we'll just have you.
Sorry.
If you would like to sit here. No, he had. Had you talked to Mr. Emily yet?
Mhm,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So he knows you're here. Fantastic.
Thank
All right.
You're with who?
News Tribune, I'm Philip.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Ted Fry.
I'm Philip.
I'm Lauren Roy.
Nice to meet you.
Natalie Landwehr.
Nice to meet you.
What are you doing here?
I'm kind of doing an update on just how the interview's been going, so
Yeah.
like by all means do what you were gonna do.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna do a little follow-up story sometime now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then at the end I might ask all your questions, but like I said, go ahead and do
Okay.
everything you were gonna
Yeah.
do. So
Don't say anything I don't want published in the Tribune.
Good point.
Oh, where were we?
So how was it leaving for training
Oh,
camp?
yeah,
And then,
it was, well, we went to St. Louis, went through all this physical and testing and all that stuff, you know, for a day or two. And the one day and then overnight and then the next day we went to Fort Leonard Wood. But that evening, they let us go that evening. We went to the ballpark, me and 2 other guys went to watch a Cardinals game. And that was pretty cool. Because we told the guy, the old beer man up in the nosebleed section that we were going into service tomorrow. We were like 19. And they brought us beer.
Oh.
Didn't even charge us for it. Said, you're old enough to go in the Army, you're old enough to drink some beer. Anyway, that was kind of crazy. Then we went, next day they piled us all in a bus and went to Fort Leonard Wood, dumped us out and picked up the few things we had, our few bags and stuff we had, and made us start running. You know, on a 90-degree day.
Okay.
You know, and I wasn't in great shape, but it was, he was mean too.
Yeah.
And they were mean the whole 8 weeks. And, you know, we just hurry up and wait. You know, we get tested and stand in lines and get our hair sheared off and and the whole world was changing. Living in a room this, with 30 guys and an area not as big as the library here, and and it was, the whole world was changing. I said, what did I get myself in for?
Yeah.
And then a lot of training, a lot of physical PT and running and training, and that was it.
So you remember your instructors then? You remember them, your instructors?
Oh, I remember their faces, some of them
Yeah.
very well.
And you remember them being mean, you said?
Being what?
Mean?
Oh yeah. I didn't see anybody get hit or beat or anything like that. But they made us duck walk and humiliated us and called us all kinds of names, and made us do lots of extra push-ups if we looked the wrong way or had something out of place. And it was just it was. They break you down and and then build you back up.
Did you receive any specialized training while you were there?
Fort Leonard Wood basic training. Everybody goes through that. But then I went to Fort Sam Houston and San Antonio and went through combat medic school, and then I went through an advanced training as an operating room technician when I was at Fort Sam.
How did you adapt to military life, including the physical regimen, barracks, food, and social life?
Oh, socially, I got along, made friends. Interesting thing, you make friends from all over, all different kinds of walks of life and all that. So socially, it's fine. You never completely adapt, I guess, to all the difficulties they throw at you. But physically, I got a lot better in basic training. I got strong, I got skinnier, and that was quite an accomplishment. You knew you were in good shape when you got out of a basic training, and then the then the advanced training. They were easier. It was kind of like going to school in a way, still with the military regimen, but operating room technician school I really enjoyed that because they pushed they taught you a lot in 10 weeks, a lot. It was an intense schooling, so I enjoyed that.
Okay. Where did you serve?
I went to Fort Riley for on-the-job training, Fort Riley, Kansas, and then got my orders for Vietnam. Most of the medics and operating room technicians, by far, 60–70% of us, I think, went to Vietnam. Other guys got spread all over, but most of us went to Vietnam. We were pretty much expecting that. And then I served, then I got to Vietnam, and I was hurry up and wait again for a couple of days, and then the C7 hands me my orders, and it said 101st Replacement Detachment, 101st Airborne Division Air Mobile Replacement Detachment, Phu-Bai. Where the hell is Phu-Bai? And what am I doing going to the 101st? That's an infantry division. And they said, boy, you forgot some of your training. He said, there's slots for operating room technicians and clearing stations. Yeah, I thought I was going to the field hospital or a MASH unit or something like that. And in some ways, I'm glad I didn't. But they sent me to the 101st. I wound up in the headquarters company, 101st Airborne Division, and the 101st Medical Company, 326 Med Battalion, Camp Eagle. I was there most of the time, but on base camp most of the time. But I did stuff off the base camp, forward things every now and then.
What memories do you have of that experience in general? Just any specific.
What's that?
Like, what memories in specific do you have of that experience?
Were bad or difficult experiences?
Just any, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's a few of them. we had division psychiatric unit in the headquarter medical company, and we had to treat some cases, guys just going nuts, going berserk, or just terribly traumatized, and that was difficult. I had a young kid come in one time, he probably wasn't even 18, black kid from rural Georgia, and all he could do is, "My Lord, come and get me, my Savior, come and get me, my Lord, my chariots come and get me." That's all you could get out of him. And he thought he was dead. They left him, he was on a 7-man Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, they call it Alert Patrol, and they left him on purpose. And I couldn't talk him down. I finally got one of the cooks to help me out because I always kept a couple syringes of Thorazine handy, and but I didn't want to put a guy down until he got calmed down a little bit. So cook helped me out in that. We had several other issues like that. That was bad. We had one guy got blown up in a fire one time, and he died on us. We tried to do everything, and it's a couple places where we had rocket and artillery fire, and I was up at Quezon shortly before I came home, and I had an aid station up there, and they sent me up. This guy got hit with shrapnel, and went up to check on him. It wasn't too bad, and anyway, then they started in again with rockets and mortars, and we were up by the fuel bladders, right next to the airport. These big old fuel bladders, 20,000 gallons or whatever, JP4, and this foxhole, they dug the dang bunker practically right below the fuel bladders. And I said, this is not a good situation. We were about 4 of us down in that hole, and we were saying our prayers. We were preparing, but they missed. They missed, and so I remember that. And one time I almost got in a fight with a bunch of ARVNs, Army Republic of Vietnam's, one time over when I was riding convoys, and somebody hit a Vietnamese in the north side of Da Nang, and they made us all stop, and they were pointing their weapons at us, and we were pointing our weapons at them, and those are our allies, and that got a little tense, and then just we were in the gun truck on the convoys too. I rode the gun truck, and we had brake trucks. When the brakes went out on the big trucks, we'd have to get in front of them and brake them and let them hit us in the rear end going all down this mountain pass. No guardrails or anything. And I saw one of them wreck over the side one time. And other than that, and then one of the guys that I went to ball game with, I found out he came in one day and go in to see the shrink, and he was a infantry company medic, and he came in and I'm in to see the shrink. I said, I know I'm going to die. Premonitions. I said, I know I'm going to die, and I said, no, you're not. I said, you can't be thinking that way. You can't think that way. That's what they told me, but I know I'm going to die. I said, no, you're not. And he said, anything I said, there's nothing I can do. I'm just a medic here. And anyway, about 3 or 4 weeks later, I heard that he stepped on a landmine. That was it. So I looked his name up on the wall. But anyway, those are some of the more unpleasant situations, and I don't talk to everybody about half of those anyway. A few people.
Thank you
You're
for
privileged.
sharing that with
Okay.
us. We appreciate
I
it.
guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At any point were you ever on the front lines?
I was forward. I wasn't in an infantry company, so I didn't get involved in any firefights. But I was forward enough that you know, I was in some precarious situations, like up at Quezon. We get shelled or rocketed about 3 times a day up there, and on the convoys, you never quite knew all the time if you were safe. One time, one of our fire bases. Oh, well, that was another thing. And one time we lost radio contact. The truck broke down, and we didn't have any radio contact, and we have to stay with the truck when it breaks down. It got dark, trying to get the truck fixed and going. And the gun truck went up the top of a small pass, Firebase Roy, and it was right above it. And somebody fired at the gun truck, RPG or a M79 round, hit the back, had a few fresh pieces of metal. The truck came down that hill like a bat out of hell. And there was a few pieces of fresh metal and a flat tire on the back, and of course they were all excited, to say the least. And because they didn't know whether it was the enemy or whether it was somebody on the fire base. And either one, they were still not happy. And then we were back down there. We had a little perimeter set up around in the ditches around the highway. Just there was more than 8 or 10 of us probably down there. And then we started getting 105 rounds. Well, pretty much knew there were 105 rounds. The enemy didn't have anything that big around there. And you hear them coming at you. And it just makes us, you know, the movies don't do it justice.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And they walked them all like from here to the parking lot in a line, and at least they were, you know, they were 20, 30 yards or so away from us, so we were all okay. You know, but it was, we didn't know if we was gonna stay okay after about the 4th or 5th round. They lobbed in, but our own guys shot at us. Because nobody's supposed to be down there in that area that time of night. Oh, yes.
If you saw combat, how did you feel when witnessing the casualties and the destruction?
When I what?
If you saw combat.
Well, I didn't have to, like I say, I didn't serve in an infantry company, so I didn't have to go out and grab guys and pull them back during a firefight or anything like that. But I saw the results of combat and the clearing station where we'd have to bring guys in, and most of the guys were badly injured, would get medevac, and that was part of our company too. And they asked me if I wanted to volunteer for that, but I said no. Because the casualty rate was pretty bad on the medevac helicopters. And anyway, most of the really severely injured guys would go straight to a MASH unit, Mobile Armored Surgical Hospital, or a field hospital, and would bypass all the battalion or brigade, you know, clearing stations or aid stations. They just go straight, and it was a pretty amazing system. They'd done some of that in Korea. If you've seen MASH or any episodes of MASH or anything like that, they started using helicopters and rapid evacuation, some in Korea, but we had it pretty down. The only thing that messed that up was when the weather was bad. And it was bad a lot. But we'd get guys with less serious injuries, just, you know, shrapnel wounds and things like this, and cuts or burns and things like that, and we're back at our clearing station, and then we'd get them patched up, healed up, then they'd go back to the unit. So we took care of guys like that. And we kept guys that couldn't handle it in the field too. They would come and stay in our company and do work, you know, and be evaluated and stay in our company. So we had a few, always had, but I, like I say, I did not have to go out and pull guys out of a hole or, you know, drag them through a rice paddy. No.
What kinds of friendships and camaraderie did you form while serving, and with
What's
who?
that?
What sort of friendships did you form like while serving, and with who, if you can remember?
Well, I made a lot of friends, like I say, a lot of, diverse, friends from all over. But gradually over the years, I've lost track of most of them except for, one guy.
Really?
I still keep in touch with one guy who was a good friend. But yeah, and I don't go to the reunions or anything like that, so I don't, haven't kept up with anybody like that or made any new friends really. Except, I meet veterans, other veterans all the time, especially Vietnam veterans, and we can talk about some things.
How did you stay in touch with your family and friends back home?
Oh, it's a lot different than it is now. Letters, old-fashioned letters, and I probably wrote about every week to begin with, but towards the last, I don't know, I just didn't want to tell them all the stuff, and so I didn't write as much, and maybe everything, and tapes, little cassette tapes, and I was engaged at that time, and we'd send tapes back and forth. I'd do one of those every, I probably did half a dozen or more. I was over there. That was kind of neat. And we got one phone call
Really?
for the year tour. One phone call. You had to use a staticky phone. So only talked to them, my parents, one time, in the whole year. That's a lot different than it is now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What did you do for recreation when you were off duty?
Oh. Well, let's see. We had, when I was at Fort Sam, we went to a concert or two, went downtown. I hit the bars. And then Fort Riley, around there wasn't a whole lot going on except for going in Manhattan, Kansas every now and then, but we're a little out of place in a college town.
Yeah.
A little out of place, and we still went and had some fun in there when I was there. Vietnam, we had Natuse Rosé and some other things, which I won't talk about, for entertainment, recreational entertainment. And then played cards. And we actually, this buddy of mine that I still keep in touch with from California, we took this one hooch and turned it into a day room and built a bar in there, and somebody found an old pool table.
Really?
It needed basically all put back together. We stretched an arm. He was pretty artistic and pretty creative and pretty skilled, practical skills too. So he stretched an army blanket over that thing, and somehow we found the only set of billiard balls and cues in that part of Vietnam. So our little day room became a pretty popular place. I never got in the big poker games, but there were some serious poker games. There were thousands of dollars transferred in an evening back in the medical supply hooch. And it was all the way from privates to majors back there. Dentists and doctors and cooks and all at the poker table. And I don't know where they got all the money to do that, but it just kept, it kept floating around. But, $3,000 or $4,000 back then was like 10 or 15,000 now. So it was pretty amazing. A lot of stuff you see in MASH is true.
Interesting.
So where were you when the war did finally end?
Was that what?
Where were you when the war finally came to an end?
Let's see. let's see, they evacuated everybody from Saigon in 75. But in 73, all the troops were pulled from combat, but actually 75 was the last time any American military was there, so I was, let's see, I was still going to school. I was in college, back at MU. School was a lot easier after Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you return home?
On a big jet airplane. Flew from Da Nang to Yokohama to Seattle. Long flight. And then they got cleaned up and new uniforms and take care of records and all that stuff. And we're all grabbing flights as quick as we could to get back home. And we weren't there. We never really, I mean, it was landed, we got off in a military compound, gate or something. And then we went to a military compound. Then we went to the airport in the middle of the night, so I didn't experience any of the negative stuff that happened to guys in a lot of places. And then got into flying in Kansas City at 6 o'clock in the morning, watching the sun come up. I said, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good.
How was it seeing your family and your community again?
Seeing what?
Your family and your community again.
Oh, it was a little awkward because I didn't know how to behave around them. We're in another world, you know. We cussed a lot and talked direct and rough, and you know what was on our mind we said. And one of the first meals after I got home, sitting down there eating Mom's mashed potatoes and gravy and fried chicken, and I said, "This is good shit, Mom." I said, "Whoops." Whoops, and Dad just kind of goes. Yeah. So as you know, it took a little, and I went to a party. I said, "Well, you got to go to this party." I did. Well, the first thing I did is I went up and, after I got a new car. I went up to see my fiance. I got off the bus in Cedar Rapids, and she gave me the ring back as soon as I got off the bus. So I wasn't, coping too well anyway, and so I was really pretty depressed for the next week or so, and just wasn't doing much, and didn't want to go out, didn't want to talk to people, and I didn't have people that, accept me or react or whatever, and so you gotta go to this party. Had a big party. Went out to party, and all the kids I've been to high school and stuff were, just having a great time, and really bummed me out. You people don't know what's going on, do you?
Yeah.
You don't have a clue. And so it took a while. It took a little while to get over that.
So you said you don't go to reunions, but are you a member of any veterans organizations?
I had been an active member of the VFW Post down in Eldon, and we moved. We moved up to Tebbets, and I haven't been active down there anymore. But I was pretty active for about 10 years. I was vice commander, and I served on the honor guard for the better part of 10 years. Where you go to the funerals and you do the salute and all that. And so yeah, I've been active. I'm a DAV member too. Probably a lifetime American Legion member, but I don't know when I've been involved. I haven't been a long time since I'm involved in American Legion, since we lived in Illinois. There was something I was going to say. Back up. What was that question? Involved in veterans organizations. wanted to tell you that I'd served on the honor guard for a number of years, and then our son was in the Navy, and he died from accidental causes in San Diego. And I did a few more honor guard ceremonies after that, but after that, I couldn't do it anymore. And they gave us a gold star. They got 2 different gold stars. There's one for families that whose kids or husband die in combat, and there's another one for families that don't die in combat. So that was pretty traumatic. I'd been below the PTSD threshold, and my wife always said, "You need to get checked. You need to get checked." I said, "Well, I was still below the threshold." But after he died, I went back and did it again because I had lots of problems with nightmares and back in Vietnam and about him getting it, just anxiety stuff. And so they said, "Well, you're 50% PTSD." I said, "Okay." Yeah, that and a nickel will buy you a cup of coffee. But anyway, that's, what's your next question?
What have you done since separating from the military?
Well, let's see. I got out of the Army in January 72, got an early out, let a whole bunch of us out in January 72. And then went to Warrensburg, drew unemployment for 6 weeks or so. And then got married before I got, same gal that gave me the ring back, we eventually got back together. And got married, and things were looking up. Getting out of the Army, enrolled in school, and had a little part-time job too, and had our new trailer, mobile home. Anyway, just really enjoyed getting back in school. And I was in the nursing program there, but then I eventually, in about a year and a half, I decided I didn't want to do the nursing thing. I didn't, and so there was a job opportunity in Columbia. I said, well, I got to get back to Columbia, maybe get back at MU job. So I worked as an OR tech at Boone County Hospital for about a year, and got divorced, got back and married 3 years. I didn't work out too good. And anyway, got back in school and on my own, and had some of the best times in my life. Had about 2.5 years left to go. I finished it up at MU, and I working 20 hours a week. Had a couple jobs, and I went from work on call in the operating room to go shoveling manure at the Columbia Livestock Auction. A whole lot less stress. And I got paid just about as well. And made some friends there that I still keep in contact with. And anyway, I got my degree in agriculture and agronomy. And then I had 2 jobs. In '76, job market was good. And I had 2 jobs waiting for me when I graduated. One would have been, one was working for the Department of the Interior doing plant and soil inventories in coastal area of Alaska. And that's pretty cool. Guy was even sending me pictures of the fish, and he said the native ladies are all really friendly. And so it was tempting, but also I had a job offer at MFA, and brand new company car, still a lot of ladies in Columbia. And so I stayed with MFA, and went from MFA to Stauffer Chemical Company, and had different agricultural career jobs all through my life. Wound up with University of Missouri Extension before I got my master's while I was in Illinois working, and that opened the door for me to get a job with MU Extension, and spent almost 18 years with MU Extension, 16 or 18, something like that, and retired from there. And I got married again after about a couple of years after I got out of college. We've been married ever since, 40 years now. Second one worked out pretty good. And so things, you know, got my act together and went back to school and had a positive attitude and worked out.
So, how did wartime experiences affect your life?
Oh, I don't know. It's been, interpersonal relationships are a little difficult at times because it, you know, I don't, you gotta kind of work through them a little bit. But I told myself in some really difficult times, I was really getting depressed, and when I was in Vietnam, I said, well, I'm down to praying, and I said, Lord, you get me out of this, I'll try to make something out of my life, and I've probably been a little pretty anal and pretty organized, and enough that it bothers my wife sometimes. You know, I'm a list maker, and I don't like things under control. Psychologically, it all affects you. You know, you want to be able to control things, and you have to learn after a while. You just can't control everything, and you just have to kind of let it go. And take a minute. We had a saying in Vietnam too, even then, is don't mean nothing, which is a pretty fatalistic way of looking at things, but it was a coping mechanism, I guess. Don't mean nothing.
Yes. What are some life lessons that you learned from your military service?
That you can get along with just about anybody, you know, if you put a little effort into it. So, you know, I haven't had too many enemies in my life.
Yeah.
I don't, and life's too short.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and military in general?
Well, I don't like war, to keep it pretty simple, and it's, you know, I can't say I'm a pacifist really, because there's things that just are not right at times in the world, and I'm afraid we have to do some things about it every now and then, but I'm definitely not a fan of war, and you know, like when the Afghanistan first broke, I was, oh God, we're going to be winding up sending a whole bunch of people over there to die. And that bothered me. I fretted and fretted and fretted. I couldn't hardly get myself away from the dang TV. And then when Iraq was invaded, I said, this is wrong. And I said, we don't want to do this. And so I've been against a lot of decisions that have been made as far as sending guys over to die, and gals.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view or hear this interview?
For the next generation, you guys, or a couple generations
Yeah.
behind me.
Yeah.
Respect others. Try to love others as you love yourself, the golden rule. Work hard, be diligent, and be educated.
Thank you. Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or that should be added to?
Anything what?
You feel like we haven't discussed well enough or you think should be added?
Oh, no, I think I've said about enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a little bit.